Have you ever found yourself struggling against the course of events in your life, only to realize that no matter how hard you try, things seem to be going in a direction beyond your control? It's like you're caught in a current that pulls you along, and no matter how much you fight, you can't change its flow. This feeling of resistance is natural when we are faced with uncertainties, fear, and doubt about the future. But here's something to remember. God's plan for you is already in motion, and it's moving you towards something bigger, something more meaningful than you might even imagine. You see, we often believe that we need to control every aspect of our lives. We work hard to make plans, we strategize, and we believe that through our own efforts, we can shape our destiny. But the truth is, there's a divine force at work in your life, a plan that's been set in motion long before you were born. This plan is full of purpose, and it's designed to lead you toward a life of fulfillment, peace, and joy. The key, however, is surrendering to it. The more we fight against this divine flow, the more we struggle. When we let go, we find ourselves in alignment with a higher calling, where things begin to unfold effortlessly in their own perfect time. There's a reason that the road less traveled is often filled with struggles and resistance. It's because it's the road where we grow the most. The challenges, the setbacks, and even the heartaches are all part of God's master plan for us. Every experience we go through is shaping us into the person we are meant to become. And although it might not always make sense in the moment, if we trust the process, we begin to see that each twist and turn has a purpose. The trick is not to get stuck in the idea that everything should happen on your timetable. God's timing is never early and never late. It's always perfect. When we trust in this divine timing, we release ourselves from the pressure of making things happen when we think they should. Instead of fighting to force things into place, we can rest in knowing that the universe is conspiring on our behalf. The doors will open at the right moment, and the opportunities will align when we're ready to receive them. Many people hold on to the idea that they need to control their life and make everything happen. But in reality, there are moments in life when the best thing you can do is simply surrender. When we surrender, we trust in the divine wisdom that orchestrates the events of our lives. It's in these moments of surrender that we experience true peace. It's when we stop fighting the current that we allow ourselves to float downstream, effortlessly moving closer to the life we were meant to live. Trusting that God's plan is already in motion for us is an invitation to stop resisting and to start flowing. You don't need to understand every detail, and you don't need to have everything figured out right now. The beauty of God's plan is that it's perfect, even when we don't understand it. It's a plan that's already unfolding, and you're exactly where you're meant to be in this very moment. NFOR. Many of us, the fear of the unknown or the fear of failure can hold us back from stepping into the life that's been planned for us. We are conditioned to believe that we must control every outcome. However, true freedom comes when we release this need for control. When we stop fighting, we begin to trust. We trust that everything we need will come to us at the perfect time, and that we are always guided toward the right path. NSO. As you move forward today, remember this: God's plan for you is already in motion. It's been set into place since before you could even imagine it. You are not alone in this journey. You are part of something much larger, and your life has purpose. Trust in the process. Trust that everything happening right now is for your good, even if it doesn't seem that way immediately. NIF, you're wondering how to make this shift from resistance to acceptance. Start by acknowledging the fear or doubt you may be holding on to. Consciously release it and make the decision to trust. Let go of the pressure to figure everything out and allow God's plan to unfold naturally. As you do this, You will begin to see the flow of life become more effortless, and the obstacles that once felt overwhelming will start to dissolve. When you stop fighting it, you allow yourself to experience the fullness of God's love and purpose for your life. It's in the moments of surrender that you step into the flow of divine guidance, and that's when you begin to see miracles happen. So, as you continue on this journey, remember that God's plan for you is already in motion, and it's far greater than anything you could have ever imagined. Now, before you go, I encourage you to watch this video until the end, because there are many more insights I'll be sharing with you that will help you better understand the power of trusting God's plan for your life. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What are your thoughts about trusting the divine plan? What wishes do you have that you feel ready to surrender to the universe? Feel free to write your warmest wishes and thoughts and share them with all of us. When we talk about trusting God's plan, it's important to recognize that this is not a passive act. Trusting in the divine plan doesn't mean that we simply sit back and wait for things to happen. It's about actively aligning ourselves with that plan, showing up each day with faith and confidence that everything is unfolding as it should. There will be moments of doubt, of course. We are human, and our minds often play tricks on us, feeding us fears and insecurities. But the key to moving past these doubts is to remind ourselves that God's plan doesn't rely on our ability to understand it. The divine knows far more than we ever could. It knows what we need before we even ask for it. And as we move through life, we must trust that what we need will be provided in the right way, at the right time. And a powerful shift happens when we stop fighting the plan and start trusting the process. Suddenly, instead of feeling like life is something we need to wrestle with, we begin to feel like life is something we are meant to experience with grace. The lessons, the challenges, the victories, and even the setbacks, they are all pieces of a puzzle that will eventually come together in a way we could never have orchestrated on our own. It's easy to become frustrated when things don't happen as we want them to. But what if everything that's unfolding is happening to prepare you for something much greater than what you had in mind? We often limit ourselves by thinking small, by trying to control every outcome. But God's plan for you is bigger, more expansive, and more extraordinary than anything you can dream up. If we allow ourselves to stop fighting and trust the process, we open the door for unimaginable blessings to flow into our lives. Take a moment and think about the times in your life when you fought against something. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, a job that didn't work out, or a dream that seemed impossible. In those moments, you might have felt like everything was falling apart. But looking back now, can you see how that event, that setback, was actually a blessing in disguise? Maybe it led you to a new opportunity, a new perspective, or a new chapter in your life that turned out to be far better than what you had originally planned. That's the beauty of God's plan. It works in ways we can't always see in the moment, but it always works out for our highest good. And when we stop resisting, when we stop fighting against the flow, we begin to see those divine connections, those beautiful synchronicities that let us know we're on the right path. And another aspect of surrendering to God's plan is learning to be patient. Patience is one of the most important virtues we can cultivate in this journey of faith. It's easy to want instant results, to feel like we should have everything figured out right away. But often, the most profound transformations take time. Sometimes, we need to go through certain experiences to build the strength and character needed for the next level of our journey. When we trust in God's timing, we are reminded that everything happens when we are ready, not necessarily when we want it to. Our impatience can cause us to miss out on the blessings that are already in motion, simply because we're too focused on trying to control the speed at which things happen. Trust that everything will unfold in its own time, when you're ready, when it's meant to. NTHE, same goes for the dreams you have, the wishes you've made. Sometimes, we hold on to these desires so tightly, thinking that we must make them happen on our own. We push, we strive, and we exhaust ourselves in the process. But when we let go and allow ourselves to trust in the divine plan, we free ourselves from that pressure. And in doing so, we give God the space to work miracles in our lives, opening doors and opportunities we never could have imagined. This is where the power of wishes comes into play. When you align yourself with the divine flow and surrender your desires to the universe, you create a space for your wishes to come true. It's not about trying to force things into existence. It's about trusting that the universe is already responding to your desires. Your energy, your intention, and your faith all contribute to the manifestation of your dreams. Think about this. When you release control and trust that God's plan is unfolding perfectly, you activate a powerful force within the universe. Your energy becomes aligned with the divine, and as you move forward with faith, your wishes are energized and begin to materialize. It's as though the universe itself begins to conspire on your behalf, bringing people, opportunities, and resources into your life at the right time. NTHA. Steez, why it's so important to trust in this divine timing, to let go of the need to force things to happen. Your wishes are already on their way, and they are being perfectly orchestrated by a higher power that knows exactly what you need, when you need it. And as you continue to trust, you will begin to see the universe respond in beautiful, unexpected ways. Relationships will heal, opportunities will open, and doors that once seemed closed will swing wide open. Your journey will no longer feel like a constant struggle, but rather a flowing, effortless path that leads you to the life you were always meant to live. This is why it's so important to stop fighting it. God's plan for you is already in motion, and it's leading you to exactly where you need to be. So, let go of the need to control everything, and trust that everything is happening for a reason, for your highest good. Now, as you reflect on this, I want you to think about your own journey. What are the areas of your life where you're still fighting against the flow? Where can you release control and allow God's plan to unfold? Let this be the moment where you choose to trust. Allow yourself to relax into the knowing that everything is working out perfectly, even if you can't see all the pieces yet. And I encourage you once again to share your thoughts, your wishes, and your dreams in the comments below. Let us know how you're surrendering to God's plan and the wishes you're releasing to the universe. We are all here, supporting each other on this beautiful journey of faith and trust. And as you continue to trust and align yourself with God's plan, you'll notice that something beautiful begins to happen. A deep sense of peace starts to settle in. This peace comes from knowing that you are no longer in a battle against your circumstances, but rather working in harmony with a higher power. The constant struggle, the anxiety, and the stress that once accompanied the uncertainty of life begin to fade. You realize that, in surrendering control, you have found the key to living a more peaceful and fulfilling life. One of the most profound shifts that happens when we stop fighting God's plan is that we start to understand the importance of patience and timing. There is a divine rhythm to life, one that doesn't follow the schedule we set for ourselves. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that if we aren't where we think we should be, we are failing. But God's plan works in divine timing, which means that you are always exactly where you are meant to be. And think about it for a moment. How often have you tried to force something into your life, only to find that the outcome wasn't what you expected, or that you weren't truly ready for it? Sometimes, we push for things we think we need, but the truth is, they might not be aligned with our greater purpose. God's timing ensures that we receive what we need when we are ready for it. and that readiness often comes after a process of growth, self-discovery, and inner transformation. This is why it's so important to let go of the timeline you've created for yourself. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with your personal expectations. The key is to trust that everything is happening in its own time, and that you are always being guided toward what's meant for you. When you let go of the pressure to make things happen on your own schedule, you create space for the miracles and blessings that are already headed your way. Think about a seed being planted in the ground. It doesn't grow overnight. It needs time to take root, to develop, and to grow into the beautiful plant it was always meant to be. Likewise, the desires and dreams you have need time to manifest, to grow, and to mature into the reality that you've been hoping for. During this time, it's crucial to trust that what's happening beneath the surface is just as important as what's visible above the ground. There's a process of development happening that you might not be able to see, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Similarly, there's often a lot happening in your life right now that you can't yet see, but trust that everything is falling into place. Every experience you go through is part of the unfolding process, even if it feels confusing or difficult at times. These moments are all shaping you, molding you, and preparing you for the next stage of your journey. So as you continue to walk through life, try to release the need to rush the process. Allow the seed to grow at its own pace. This shift in mindset is incredibly powerful. When you stop fighting and begin to trust, you begin to see the world in a different way. You start to understand that life isn't something that happens to you, but rather something you get to participate in. You realize that you don't need to have everything figured out, and you certainly don't need to control every detail. Instead, you can step into each moment with confidence, knowing that everything you need will be provided. In these moments of surrender, you allow yourself to tap into the flow of divine energy that is always surrounding you. You become more in tune with your intuition, and your ability to listen to the subtle nudges from within becomes stronger. These intuitive messages are not random. They are the whispers of God guiding you toward the next right step on your path. When you stop fighting, you open yourself to receiving this guidance more clearly. Think about the moments in your life when you felt truly aligned, when things just seemed to fall into place without any effort on your part. Those moments are when you were in harmony with the divine plan for your life. They were moments when you surrendered control and allowed things to flow naturally. It's in these moments that you experience a sense of peace and clarity that is unlike anything else. And as you continue to trust God's plan, you may notice that more of these moments begin to appear. The more you surrender and allow yourself to be guided, the more you will experience this flow in your life. You'll start to see opportunities you didn't notice before. You'll meet people who seem to come into your life at just the right time. And most importantly, you'll start to feel the peace that comes with knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. This doesn't mean that everything will always be easy. There will still be challenges, moments of doubt, and times when you feel uncertain. But when you trust God's plan, those challenges don't feel as overwhelming. You know that everything you face is part of the bigger picture, and that even in the toughest times, you are being shaped for something greater. You are being prepared for the blessings that are on their way. It's also important to note that God's plan for you may not always look the way you expect it to. We tend to get attached to specific outcomes and goals, but sometimes the path God leads us on is different than the one we envisioned. This is where true faith comes in, trusting that even though you may not understand everything, you can rest assured that the plan unfolding is for your highest good. Think back to the times in your life when things didn't go as planned. Maybe you were disappointed, frustrated, or confused. But when you look back now, can you see how those moments led you to something better? Can you see how those setbacks were actually setups for greater things? The divine plan always works this way. It takes us on unexpected journeys, but those journeys lead us exactly where we need to go. And as you continue to trust and surrender, remember this: God is always with you, guiding you and supporting you every step of the way. The path may not always be clear, but the peace that comes from trusting in God's plan will always guide you forward. Let go of the need to fight against the flow and allow yourself to move forward with faith. You are exactly where you need to be, and the best is yet to come. NSO, I encourage you once again to share your thoughts and experiences with us in the comments. How has trusting God's plan worked in your life? Have you had moments when you let go of control and saw miraculous things unfold? Let's continue this journey of trust together. And as you continue on your journey of trust, one of the most powerful things you can do is to remain open. Open to change, open to growth, and open to the guidance that's always around you. Life has a way of presenting us with unexpected opportunities, and when we're open, we can embrace them with grace and confidence. However, if we're too focused on controlling the outcome, or too attached to a specific idea of what our life should look like, we can miss these opportunities when they arise. God's plan for you is one of abundance, but abundance isn't just about material things. It's about being open to all the blessings that life has to offer: love, peace, joy, growth, wisdom, and connection. When we stop fighting the plan and start living in alignment with it, we find that we are surrounded by everything we need. We may not always recognize it in the moment, but everything we need is always right in front of us, waiting for us to see it. This sense of abundance is not just about things or external circumstances. It's about the peace and fulfillment that comes when you stop trying to force life to happen and instead let it unfold naturally. You will find that the more you trust, the more you realize that your life is full of blessings. Even the things that might seem like challenges are opportunities for growth and transformation. The moment you stop fighting and begin to trust, you open yourself up to receiving these blessings in their full measure. Being open to God's plan also means being willing to embrace change. Change is an inevitable part of life, and it can often feel uncomfortable or unsettling. We tend to resist change because it takes us out of our comfort zone, but change is often the very thing that brings us closer to our purpose. Think about how many times in your life you've experienced change: a job change, a move to a new place, the end of a relationship. And although those moments felt difficult at the time, looking back, they led you to something better. When you stop fighting against change and instead embrace it as part of the divine plan, you open yourself to the opportunities that come with it. Change brings new experiences, new lessons, and new ways of seeing the world. It may not always feel comfortable, but it's always necessary for growth. God's plan for you will lead you through many changes, and with each one, you will grow stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true purpose. Part of being open to God's plan is letting go of the idea that everything must be perfect. Perfectionism often holds us back because we believe that we need everything to be just right before we can move forward. But perfection is an illusion. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of surprises. God's plan doesn't require perfection, it requires trust. When we stop trying to make everything perfect and instead embrace the beauty of the journey, we open ourselves up to the richness of life. And as you let go of the need for perfection, you begin to see that it's not about having everything figured out or achieving some idealized version of success. It's about showing up each day, trusting that you are exactly where you need to be, and knowing that everything is unfolding for your highest good. This is where true fulfillment comes from. Not in the perfect moments, but in the messy, unpredictable, and beautiful unfolding of life. And another powerful shift that happens when you stop fighting God's plan is that you begin to live with purpose. You may have heard the saying, When you know your purpose, you know your direction. Purpose gives you clarity and focus. It helps you to align your actions with your true calling, and it gives you the motivation to keep moving forward, even when things get tough. NBUT purpose doesn't always come in the way we expect. It doesn't always come with a grand revelation or a specific career path. Sometimes, purpose is found in the small things, in the way you treat others, in the joy you bring to those around you, in the simple acts of kindness that you offer every day. When you stop fighting the plan, you start to see that purpose is not something you need to chase or force. It's something that naturally unfolds as you follow the path that God has set before you. Living with purpose also means understanding that you are part of a bigger picture. You are not here by accident. Your life has meaning, and you have a unique role to play in the grand design of the universe. When you stop resisting and start trusting, you align yourself with the purpose that's already been set for you. You begin to understand that everything you do, every interaction, and every decision has a ripple effect on the world around you. And trusting God's plan also means embracing the present moment. So often, we are consumed with worry about the future or regret about the past. But the present moment is all we truly have. It's in the here and now that God is working in your life, guiding you, and showing you the next step. When you trust that the present moment is exactly where you need to be, you stop worrying about what's to come or what's already gone, and you begin to live fully in the now. And in this moment, you are exactly where you need to be. There's no need to rush, no need to fear, and no need to fight against what's unfolding in your life. Trust that God's plan for you is perfect, that everything is happening for your good, and that the path you are on is leading you to exactly where you need to go. Your life is a beautiful journey, and every step you take brings you closer to the life you were meant to live. And as you reflect on this, I encourage you once again to share your thoughts and feelings in the comments. How are you embracing the present moment and trusting God's plan? What have you learned through the challenges and changes in your life? Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to hear, so let's continue supporting each other as we trust in the divine flow. And as you continue to trust in God's plan for your life, you'll begin to experience a sense of liberation. This is the freedom that comes when you release the need for control and embrace the unknown with faith. It's the freedom to live authentically, to follow your heart, and to let go of the fear of failure. You will find that when you stop fighting against the flow of life, you open yourself up to experiences that are more fulfilling, more meaningful, and ultimately more aligned with your true self. One of the most powerful aspects of surrendering to God's plan is the release of fear. Fear often arises when we feel like we don't have control, or when we don't understand what's happening around us. We fear the future, we fear the unknown, and we fear that we're not good enough or that we'll fail. But when we stop fighting and start trusting, we replace fear with faith. We trust that no matter what happens, we are always being guided toward what is best for us. Fear loses its power when we let go of the need to control every outcome and instead trust that God's plan is always in motion, always leading us toward growth. And fear is often rooted in our attachment to specific outcomes. We fear that things won't turn out the way we want, or that our dreams won't come true. But when we stop fighting God's plan and trust the journey, we begin to realize that the outcomes we imagine might not even be the ones that are best for us. Sometimes, we can't see the bigger picture. We can't see how the things we're going through are leading us to a better version of ourselves. By releasing our attachment to the outcome, we allow ourselves to experience true freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from anxiety, and freedom from the pressure of trying to control everything. This doesn't mean that challenges won't arise or that life will be without its difficulties. But it does mean that when we face those challenges, we do so with a sense of peace and trust. knowing that everything is unfolding in the way that it is meant to. Challenges become opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to our happiness. When we trust God's plan, we can face adversity with confidence, knowing that it is all part of the process. Every struggle, every setback, and every obstacle is shaping us, teaching us, and preparing us for the next chapter of our journey. Another important aspect of trusting God's plan is learning to recognize the signs and synchronicities that guide us along the way. When we stop fighting the flow of life, we become more attuned to the subtle messages that are always present. These signs might come in the form of a conversation with a friend, a book that seems to speak directly to your heart, or a feeling of deep inner knowing. God speaks to us in many ways, and when we are open and trusting, we begin to notice the gentle nudges that guide us toward our purpose. Synchronicities are not coincidences, they are divine confirmations that we are on the right path. They serve as reminders that we are not alone in this journey, that God is always with us, guiding us, and leading us toward the life that is meant for us. When we stop fighting and begin to trust the process, we begin to notice these signs more clearly. They may appear in unexpected ways, but they are always there to reassure us that we are exactly where we need to be. One of the most transformative things you can do as you trust God's plan is to cultivate a spirit of gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we do have. It reminds us that there is always something to be thankful for, even in the most challenging times. When we express gratitude, we open ourselves up to more blessings, more opportunities, and more divine guidance. Gratitude shifts our energy and helps us align with the flow of God's plan. As you practice gratitude, you begin to notice that life becomes more abundant, more joyful, and more fulfilling. Gratitude helps us to stay grounded in the present moment, and it allows us to see the blessings that are already in our lives. It's easy to focus on what we don't have, but when we stop fighting and begin to trust, we realize that we are already surrounded by everything we need. God's plan for us is one of abundance, and gratitude helps us to see and appreciate it in all its forms. Being grateful for where you are right now is a powerful way to step into the flow of God's plan. It's not about waiting for things to be perfect or for the next blessing to come your way. It's about recognizing that everything you need is already here, in this moment. The more you cultivate an attitude of gratitude, the more you begin to see the beauty in the present moment. You will find that the more you give thanks, the more you have to be thankful for. Gratitude creates a cycle of positivity, attracting more of what you desire and more of the blessings that God has in store for you. And as you trust the divine plan for your life, remember that this is a journey, not a destination. Trust is something we cultivate over time. It's not a one-time decision, but a practice that we continue to develop throughout our lives. Each day we have the opportunity to release our fears, doubts, and attachments, and to trust that God is guiding us exactly where we need to go. There will be days when it feels hard to trust, when the path seems unclear, and when you feel lost or uncertain. But even in those moments, know that God is with you. Your faith, even in moments of doubt, will carry you through. And as you continue to trust and surrender, you will begin to see the fruits of your faith, peace, joy, and fulfillment manifest in your life. NSO, let go of the need to control everything. Stop fighting it. Trust that God's plan for you is already in motion and that you are exactly where you need to be. With each step you take, you will find more peace, more clarity, and more joy. Trust that God is leading you to the life you were always meant to live. And as you reflect on these truths, I encourage you once again to share your thoughts in the comments. What is your experience with surrendering and trusting God's plan? How has it changed your perspective on life? Let's continue to support one another as we walk this path together. And as you continue to walk this path of trust and surrender, you'll begin to see the profound shifts that take place in your life. It's as though the very act of letting go of control opens doors that were once closed. When you stop fighting against the flow, you allow the universe to bring in what it has been preparing for you all along. The opportunities, the relationships, and the experiences that you once thought were out of reach suddenly begin to appear, as though they were waiting for you to give them permission to enter. This is the magic of surrender. When you let go of your need to control and instead trust that God's plan for you is unfolding perfectly, you open the door to infinite possibilities. You begin to see that the things you've been striving for, the dreams you've been chasing, were always meant for you. But sometimes they can only come to you when you release the pressure of trying to make them happen on your own. The key to unlocking this divine flow is faith. Faith is not just a belief. It's an active trust in the unseen, an assurance that even when things don't make sense, they are working out for your highest good. Faith allows you to move forward even when the road is uncertain, knowing that you are guided by a higher power. When you step out in faith, you stop worrying about how things will turn out, and you trust that God will bring you what you need at the right time, in the right way. One of the most beautiful things about trusting God's plan is that it allows you to release the need to compare yourself to others. We live in a world that constantly pressures us to measure our worth based on external achievements. We compare ourselves to the success of others, the lives they lead, and the progress they've made. But when you stop fighting God's plan for your life and trust that you are exactly where you need to be, you stop worrying about what others are doing. You realize your journey is unique, and it's not meant to look like anyone else's. And comparison only leads to frustration and self-doubt. It pulls you away from the peace that comes with knowing that your life is unfolding exactly as it should. When you trust that God's plan is uniquely designed for you, you stop seeking validation from external sources. You find contentment and fulfillment in your own path, knowing that your life is exactly as it's meant to be. Letting go of comparison also allows you to celebrate the successes of others without feeling threatened or envious. You begin to understand that someone else's blessings do not take away from your own. There is more than enough abundance in the world for everyone. God's plan for you is a personal one, and it's not limited by anyone else's achievements. In fact, when you trust and surrender, you create space for even more blessings to flow into your life, because you are no longer clinging to the need for validation or the fear of scarcity. And another powerful result of trusting God's plan is the deep sense of connection that comes with it. When we stop fighting and begin to trust, we not only align with our own purpose, but also with the collective energy of the universe. We realize that we are all connected, that every person we meet, every experience we have, and every challenge we face is part of a greater web of interconnectedness. This realization brings us closer to others, and we begin to see the beauty and divinity in everyone and everything around us. When we are in alignment with God's plan, we become more compassionate, more empathetic, and more understanding of the struggles that others face. We recognize that everyone is on their own journey, and while their path may look different from ours, it is equally valid and meaningful. Trusting God's plan for our lives helps us to see the bigger picture, and we start to recognize the sacredness in all things. This sense of connection is not just about understanding others, but also about understanding ourselves. The more we trust, the more we come to understand our true nature. We begin to see ourselves as part of something much greater than ourselves, as expressions of divine love and light. This realization brings with it a sense of peace and self-acceptance. We stop fighting against who we are and instead embrace our authentic selves, knowing that we are exactly who we were created to be. As you continue to embrace this journey of trust, you'll find that the weight of worry and stress begins to lift. The more you let go, the more freedom you experience. You'll find that the things you once thought you couldn't live without no longer hold the same power over you. The fear of loss, the fear of failure, and the fear of uncertainty will start to fade, replaced by a deep sense of peace and trust that no matter what happens, everything is unfolding as it should. This doesn't mean that life will always be easy or that everything will always go according to plan. There will still be challenges and difficult moments, but the difference is that you will face them with a sense of peace and confidence, knowing that you are being guided every step of the way. Trusting in God's plan gives you the strength to face anything with grace, because you know that you are not alone in this journey. When you trust that God's plan is already in motion, you begin to see that the obstacles and struggles you face are not roadblocks, but stepping stones. Each challenge is an opportunity for growth, and each setback is a setup for a future success. You are being shaped and molded into the person you are meant to be, and with each step, you are getting closer to your true purpose. And so, as you move forward, remember to keep your faith strong. Trust that the divine plan for your life is already in motion, and that everything is working out in your favor. You are exactly where you are meant to be, and every step you take is leading you toward the life you were always meant to live. And I encourage you once again to share your thoughts, experiences, and reflections in the comments below. How has trusting God's plan transformed your life? What are you learning as you release control and surrender to the flow of life? We are all in this journey together, and your story may be just the inspiration someone else needs to trust the process and let go of their own fears and doubts. And as you continue to walk through life, trusting in God's plan and embracing the flow, it's important to remember that this journey is one of continuous growth. Life is constantly evolving, and so are you. The more you align with God's will for your life, the more you will see how deeply interconnected everything is. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, and every opportunity that comes your way. Beauty of trusting God's plan is that it brings with it a sense of peace and freedom, even in the midst of uncertainty. You realize that you don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to control every outcome, because there is a higher power at work guiding you. And when you trust that power, you find yourself at peace with the unknown. And in the beginning, trust may feel like a leap of faith, especially when you're not sure where the path is leading or what the future holds. But as you surrender and allow yourself to be guided, you begin to see the beauty in the journey itself. Life no longer feels like a series of random events. It begins to feel like a divine plan unfolding. And the more you trust, the more you witness the miracles that happen when you align with that plan. One of the most profound ways God's plan reveals itself is through your relationships with others. As you let go of resistance and stop fighting the natural flow of life, you will find that the people around you, your family, your friends, and even strangers, become more significant in your life. You will attract people who align with your values, your purpose, and your dreams. And as you become more open to receiving love and support, you will discover that your connections with others deepen in ways that nourish your soul. Relationships, after all, are a powerful part of God's plan. They teach us about love, patience, kindness, and growth. And when we stop fighting against the ebb and flow of life, we open ourselves to the beautiful relationships that are meant to come into our lives. Sometimes, these connections may not come in the form we expect, but they will always come when we are ready. Trust that the relationships God has planned for you will unfold at just the right time. In your career and personal life, you will begin to notice the opportunities that open up when you stop fighting and start trusting. Instead of forcing things to happen, you'll find that things begin to flow more effortlessly. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, surrounded by the right people, and suddenly the things you've worked so hard for start to fall into place. This is the power of divine timing. It's not about forcing or striving, but about trusting that your path is being guided every step of the way. One of the most amazing things about trusting God's plan is how it shifts your perspective on challenges. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you will begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Life's difficulties aren't meant to break you. They are meant to shape you into the person you are destined to be. And when you trust that every challenge is a stepping stone, you can face them with a sense of courage and resilience that you didn't even know you had. This is where the true power of surrender lies, in understanding that you are not in this alone. The universe, God, or whatever higher power you believe in is always there, guiding you and supporting you. You may not always feel it, but it's always present, working behind the scenes to bring you closer to your purpose. And the more you surrender to this process, the more you will experience the grace and guidance that comes from trusting in the divine plan for your life. It's also important to remember that trust doesn't mean that everything will be easy. Life will still have its ups and downs. But the difference is that when you trust, you are no longer trying to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You let go of the burden of having to make everything happen on your own. Instead, you walk forward with the assurance that you are being supported by a higher power, one that knows exactly what you need and when you need it. NTHE Journey of Trust is also one of healing. As you release your fears, doubts, and attachments, you begin to heal from past wounds, and you create space for new experiences. God's plan for you is not just about what's ahead. It's about healing the wounds of the past, letting go of old hurts, and stepping into the fullness of who you are meant to be. Healing comes when we stop holding on to the past and start trusting that we are worthy of the future God has planned for us. Trust allows us to forgive ourselves and others, to move forward with a lighter heart, and to embrace the love and joy that is already available to us. It's through this healing that we become more aligned with our true selves, and we step into the life that is ours by divine right. NTHE. Final thing to remember as you continue this journey is that God's plan for your life is far greater than anything you could have ever imagined. We often get caught up in the details, wanting to know exactly how things will unfold or when they will happen. But God's plan isn't something we can always comprehend. It's bigger, more expansive, and more beautiful than we can see with our limited vision. And when we trust, we allow ourselves to experience the fullness of that plan, even when we don't understand every step of the way. NSO, as you move forward, trust that everything is unfolding for your highest good. Let go of the need to control, and trust that God's plan is always in motion. It's leading you to exactly where you need to be, and every experience is a stepping stone to something greater. Know that you are loved, guided, and supported in every way, and that your journey is just beginning. And I encourage you, once again, to share your thoughts and experiences with us in the comments. What has your journey of trust looked like? How has trusting in God's plan transformed your life? Let's continue to support one another as we walk this path together. And as you come to the end of this journey, remember that trusting God's plan is not a one-time decision, but an ongoing process. Each day is an opportunity to surrender, to let go of the need for control, and to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. The more you trust, the more you will experience the peace and fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with divine guidance. Trusting in God's plan means embracing the unknown with faith, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. It means releasing fear, letting go of resistance, and allowing life to flow effortlessly. Your dreams, your desires, and your purpose are all part of this beautiful plan, and when you trust in it, you will find yourself living a life that is beyond anything you could have imagined. And as you move forward, trust that every step you take is part of your divine journey. Everything is working out for your highest good, and God is always with you, guiding you. So let go, trust, and enjoy the ride. Your life is unfolding in the most beautiful and perfect way, just as it was always meant to be. NT, thank you for being here. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else to trust in their own journey.